With all the long shots, the technique feels the same, but it may look different, and it certainly is different when you set it up at address. I've got my driver here, and with this club, the ball's played quite well forward in the stance. So the first point to notice is the ball is up by my left foot. Also, as it's the longest shaft, I'm standing the furthest away from the ball. And then the swing itself will be my fullest possible swing. Now moving on to the 3-wood. I've teed the ball down a little bit lower. As I move in, shaft's a little bit shorter, so I'm going to be closer to the ball. Ball position, I still want to sweep the ball into the air, so it's not quite as far forward as the driver, and you'll probably notice that the swing is a little bit shorter. And now the hybrid club, a CLK fly high, 17 degrees. Some people call these rescue clubs. The ball's teed down a little bit lower. I'm coming in now, the shorter shaft, so I'm going to be coming in closer to the ball. Ball's coming back in the stance, almost like a long iron position, this one. And again, I feel the same technique. You may notice the swing getting slightly shorter. Moving on now to the long iron. These have not always been easy to hit over the years, so Mizuno have produced a cut muscle MP fly high. That makes it easier to get the ball up in the air with the bigger sweet spot and the weight underneath the shot. So let's go ahead and hit this one, and look, the ball position now pretty low. I'm coming in closer. It's a long iron than I did with my driver. Ball appears to be further back in the stance. The swing feels the same to me. And now looking at a mid iron, a 6-iron. Obviously the ball's now down on the grass. I'm looking at moving the ball back into almost the middle of the stance. Once again coming in closer because of the shorter shaft. And the key feeling for me is everything feels the same, but it may not look the same. Now as you can see here, there's a divot in front of the ball, which shows that the 6-iron was hit with a descending blow, and that's because of the ball position, not because of anything I did differently in the swing. Now as I move to a wedge, you'll see the same ball position further back in the stance, the same descending blow down. I'm quite close to the ball because of the short shaft, and the key to all this is the swing feels the same even though it doesn't look the same. I keep repeating that point because there's a tendency for club golfers to think they have to change the swing. You're wrong. So there we have it. Regardless of the club you're using, the fundamentals of the swing will feel the same. We'll look at those fundamentals later and how perhaps you can make a few changes that will help your overall game. There are a few changes at address that we talked about. I showed you how with the driver the ball is as far forward in the stance as it's going to get, and with the wedge as far back. And of course the longer shafts mean you stand further away from the ball, or the shorter shafts of the wedge mean you're going to stand closer to it. But one key point, it might look shorter, it doesn't feel shorter as I go from driver to the wedge. The swing feels the same. That's been a pretty repetitive theme of mine. I want you to remember it.